One. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? This is Sam Johnson with the Sam Daily Show. How is everybody doing? We are live, Facebook, now Rumble. If you haven't heard of that, check it out. We're trying to move everyone from Facebook and all of that garbage platform to Rumble and to Twitter. Find us on Twitter at Sam Daily Show. Is that right, Aaron? Is that right, Training Repair Aaron? Is that where they can find you, tweet you, speak to you?
Yes, Sam. I have the pleasure of running the Twitter, so go check us out on Twitter. You get to see my daily shit posting there.
And that's a bad word in the first 5 seconds, and so we are dropping in the recommendations. It's okay, because we have people like you who are watching. You should be sure to like it, comment, subscribe, do what you can, because every single click is something that is good. Essentially what that does is that more people see it. So I don't know if you knew that. Or if you don't like it, be sure to let us know why you didn't like it in the comments. So today is a great day. We have now officially rolled into an awesome moment where we have Audio Kid who's looking at me strangely. Audio Kid, do you have something to say? Nothing at all. So Audio Kid came in here and he said, why is it such a wonderful day? And I told him that something is going to happen within the next 2 months that may or may not end abortions. Now, hold up. I cannot stress on this is that you need to understand what this means. So whenever I talk to Audio Kid about this, I basically expressed to him, do you know what the executive, judicial, and legislative branch are? Did you say yes? Yeah. He nodded his head. He said, yeah, I learned about something like that. And so we zoomed in on the judicial branch, and that is the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court is elected by those who are elected. And that would be the House and the Senate, who, I guess it's nominated. Aaron, fill me in on this. Trainer Repair, Aaron, is this nominated by the president, and then it is voted on by the Senate and the House?
Yes, that's basically how it works. So it's called the confirmation process when we decide our next when we decide our next Supreme Court justice. So the president picks a nominee, and then House and Senate approve. And once really it's kind of like the House just votes, and then the Senate like really gets in and grills them and like asks the tough questions, unless they're a Republican, of course. Then they never ask tough questions.
You mean whenever they're a Democrat?
No, I mean the Republicans. They don't ask tough questions.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that they ask that the Republicans get grilled or don't get grilled, and the Democrats do. Pretty much what it is a grandstand, right?
If it's a Republican, they'll destroy their life. If it's a Democrat and they're openly a child liker, then they just get put right through.
That's right. So in the instance of today is that we have, I think it was last night, whenever there was a leaked document that showed that Roe v. Wade is potentially going to be overturned. Now, if you don't know what Roe v. Wade, it was like 1972 when they put it in place, and then there were 60 million abortions that happened since then. Roe v. Wade basically took away the rights of the states to determine whether or not for their citizens whether or not abortion would be legal or illegal. So let me put it this way, is that everybody's going absolutely bonkers because they believe that nobody's going to ever be able to get an abortion again in America, and that's not necessarily true. It's essentially going to go back to where it was before Roe v. Wade. And so what that means is that it is dependent on the states. So it goes back to the states. So those who are in California and in New York and in Washington and all of these left satanic places, is that they're going to likely allow abortions to continue to happen in those states, even if Roe v. Wade is overturned. And that's what it should be constitutionally. Because even one of, was it Gorsuch who said that, it was essentially pulled out of thin air, is that to make a decision like this is that they had to visit the good old Constitution, and they had to determine whether or not that the rights, that a woman has the right to abort or murder her baby inside the womb, right? So Tranny repair Aaron,
they,
I forgot to even ask you, do you have any good facts on transmissions? Please tell me you have something.
Yes. So we're gonna teach you folks step by step every episode how to fix your transmission. So the first thing, regular maintenance. The first step of regular maintenance. Regularly change your transmission fluid to make sure that your transmission is running smoothly. And actually, I'm not going to make that joke. We'll get in trouble.
Yeah, great. Now you
So, yeah.
have a little bit more knowledge about transmissions because Training Repair Aaron, that is his specialty. Hence his name.
Yes,
Training Repair
he's my
Aaron.
specialty.
Training Repair
And
Aaron.
I repair a lot more than trannies, but I can't tell you what or how.
So now we've also got the special guest here. It is the Sarah Meyer. I'm sorry, Sarah Moe. My apologies. I feel like such a moron. I should have stuck to the notes. I ended up going off on this tangent, and then now I roll it into Sarah. Sarah, who are you, Sarah? You're not only a friend and a client of mine, but you are I
am a lobbyist for. Hey, there I am. I'm a lobbyist for the pro-life movement. I'm actually working with a group of abortion survivors, and it has been an amazing ride, and I'm really excited to be here with you today, Sam.
Yes, and not only that, but you are also a woman, and so you are able to speak on this kind of topic, right? Because me as a cisgender male, which is interesting, is that this whole idea of men can't determine this and that. But what's funny is Roe v. Wade was actually passed, I think, by all white men. I think that's how it was. And then now that we're going back into potentially overturning it, is that we have a black man who is likely to vote to overturn, and then you also have a white woman who is likely to vote to overturn. Am I wrong on this, Sarah?
Extremely ironic. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right. Number one, that I am a woman. I've had 3 amazing kids. So we're just going to start with everything right. So you are so right. I am a woman. My kids are watching TV in the other room. So this is real pro-life life happening right here, right now. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Sam. So what you're talking about is Amy Coney Barrett, the woman who is not the most recently confirmed woman to serve on the Supreme Court, but she was.
Well, that would have been Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? Is that the other one? And,
yeah.
And she's the one who also said that this is. Well, go ahead, Aaron.
We can't define the next person that's coming in. We can't define her as a woman. That's not a classification that we can make. The new Supreme Court justice that's getting
not
confirmed,
a biologist.
Yeah, she's not a. We can't define. I'm not a biologist. I don't know if you are.
Well, I completed I completed biology in high school, so I can go ahead and say that I am potentially certified to be able to say whether a man is a man or a woman is a woman.
Well, that makes so much more sense. If that's the only classification you need, that explains why all of them claim to be biologists. Continue.
So I think, Sam, you were talking about looking ahead at this case that's pending in the Supreme Court, Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health. And with this document that was released, looking into our crystal ball is always dangerous. Mine's been broken for a while now. The repair shop doesn't know when it's going to be back, but we're looking at some of the most pro-life leaders or pro-life Supreme Court justices have their moment now to make a stand, to I don't want to say take a stand, because we don't want an advocate court, but have an interpretation that is exactly contrary of what happened in 1973, where you did have a court that took a case and actually created a law out of it, which is really not what the court's job is. So it's going to be a very interesting path forward, and it's been a really, really interesting last 24 hours. I'm going to take 2 steps back and talk a little bit more about what I do and who I do it for. I spent 20 years in government affairs, was a corporate lobbyist most recently, and a year ago I quit my job and decided to write my own Choose Your Own Adventure novel. If anyone's read those, they used to be really popular in the intermediate school library, where you could turn to page 42 and have a new adventure. I was tired of
And I
the
can't
corporate.
read. So go ahead.
Yeah, and the
that's
Gen Z, we just use our phones. You really lost everyone
Hey,
there.
that's rats.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So back in the olden days, there were these places called libraries, and they kept things called books. They were made out of this stuff called paper.
Mm.
And paper
Interesting.
is really one of the most green substances you can find because it comes
I
from
thought,
trees.
but I thought paper was killing the environment because of the trees.
Au contraire, my dear.
You got him cheesing.
Follow me. Because paper is actually a renewable resource. Unlike dinosaur bones, compressed dinosaur bones and guts buried deep underneath the surface of the earth. Trees we can plant every day. And we actually have more trees now in North America than we did 100 years ago. Amazing. And the paper industry does a really great job of reforesting the nation. So
Not only
we
that,
are
but
in a much better place.
we also have more abortions than ever before.
Oh,
is-
bringing
Was
it
that a
back.
segue? Is that a
Great segue.
Audio Kid is
So-
looking at me like,
so-
well done. Well,
Well done. So I've had a lot of coffee. So bringing it back, I quit my job and I decided I'm going to work with people that I care, that I can align my beliefs with, that I can make a difference with. And one of the first calls I made was to a friend of mine. Her name is Melissa Oden. She is the founder and director of an organization called the Abortion Survivors Network. And when I say that, people think, oh, okay, it must be a woman who, maybe had a medical complication to an abortion. Well, technically that's correct. But Melissa is actually was a baby when she survived an abortion. She sat in a saline-induced abortion for 5 days before she was accidentally born alive. And so what that means, to just unpack that a little bit, a toxic solution was injected into her amniotic sac when her mother was pregnant with her, and that saline, kind of like a salt solution, was intended to kill her. But the problem with the abortion industry then, and it's a problem that continues now, is that abortionists do not always adequately or accurately date the gestational age of the preborn baby. So Melissa was farther along than they thought, and she was born alive. Now, this happened. Oh my gosh! And I'm seeing her on Newsmax right now. That's crazy.
Wow.
wait, what's her name?
Melissa Oden, Ohden. She's live on Stinchfield on Newsmax, which is crazy. Well, not crazy, but she's with. Is that John Spicer? I don't know who that is. Anyway,
You work side by side with her then?
we work side by side. I called her up and I said, "Hey, I'm quitting my job. Is there anything I can do to help?" Because I'd had a little bit of a professional crush on her, because we were both going to DC, meeting with people, talking with legislators, but you didn't really want to encroach on this because she was in her lane, I was in mine, and it was just a professional respect. But when I decided to leave my job, I said, I would love to help you. And she said, I've been praying about hiring you soon. And I literally, my eyes welled up and had goosebumps. We know each other through our church, and we have kids in the same class together at school. And if you think about it, our kids would not be friends had that abortion been successful. Her daughters would not be alive had that abortion been successful. And what happened to her was that a nurse did not follow the instructions of the attending physician, her abortionist, and the nurse rushed her to the NICU, where the doctors and nurses there saved her life. And she was later adopted. So with that kind of compelling story, how could you not, be passionate about or be willing to help give a voice? The pro-life movement always says, giving a voice to the voiceless, but this really is the voice of who we're talking about, the people who were intended victims of abortion, whose lives were about to end before they really, really, before they even drew their first breath.
Well, and this
And
isn't isolated either. This is something that happens
No.
regularly. Yeah.
Well, yes, absolutely. The CDC has actually completed a study, and that was done in the 80s. Now, I know right now the CDC doesn't have the best reputation for something that, called Corona, something, some virus. Anyway, not the best reputation these days. But back when, they, in the 80s, they actually did a study that said that there are 400 to 500 abortion survivors born each year. And in the United States right now, we don't have adequate reporting requirements to track that, but we know that more abortions are being performed now than they were then. And so we can only assume that there are more survivors out there. And right now in the Abortion Survivors Network, there are nearly 600 active members who have sought counseling help, empowerment help, speaking help to find a community that understands them and the trauma that they experience.
Now, how many what my question for you is like what does this mean? I mean, I understand legally is that then it would go back to the states, but I was reading an article the other day, and it was talking about there were several states that had something set up to where the moment that this would be overturned, that they would make it legal. In fact, 12 of the states, and one of them was like Mississippi, and another one Texas, and then Missouri was also
Louisiana. I think you're talking about what they call trigger laws.
Yes.
And so what's happening right now is that states across the country state legislatures are attempting to pass legislation that would, as you say, after any movement at the federal level, would trigger a state law to go into effect. So it's some of those, if-then statements. If at the federal level the court overturns the federal, right to an abortion, then, and it's turned over to the states, then the law of the land in this state is no abortions are allowed, or abortions only in the case to save the mother's life, or like in the case of California, up until birth, or maybe even after birth.
Yeah, did you see that video? Did you see that video recently where there was a gal? It was Savannah Hernandez, and then she was going up to people and then asking questions regarding infanticide. Is that I do believe that there should be abortion after a baby is born, and they were asking 5 months, 6 months, and I think it was a guy or a gal. I mean, it had to be one of the two.
Yeah, it was though. I think the one you're about specifically referenced, because I've seen the video a bunch of times. There's two women, and Savannah asks. She says, "Would you get a late-term abortion?" So, late-term abortion is the last trimester. The baby. At that point, the baby has such an insane chance of surviving that even in Roe v. Wade, they didn't allow last trimester abortions. Roe v. Wade did not allow for that originally. And then with Casey v. Pennsylvania and some other cases, things changed later down the road. But so with that, so she asked the two girls, would you get a late-term abortion? And the one's like, yes. And I'd do it again. I do it as many times as I want until I'm ready to have a kid. And I saw the video, and I sat and I prayed and I said, please do not let this woman have a child, because she does not deserve it, because she's probably, I think she said she had already had multiple abortions by that point, so she'd already legally be considered a serial killer, but then is just gonna do it again as many times as she wants to, because it's so difficult to keep her legs closed. So difficult.
Not only that, but they're also talking about, I mean, I think anybody who's kind of in this news realm is that they heard, I think it was in Vermont or Virginia, Sarah, you may know this, is that there was a governor that came out and was actively talking about infanticide killing a baby out after it was born. And in that video, they also were saying, would you kill a baby after 10 months? And they're like, hell yeah. So my thing is that now that, or if this goes to pass, and it should be noted that this isn't something that is entirely going to happen, there still needs to be the vote that takes place. And unfortunately, because this was leaked, is that now you have so much pressure on each one of these Supreme Court, what would you call them, members?
Justices.
justices is that you have all this pressure on these guys and gals in there that really what it comes down to, I'm actually okay with it because they did it so they're so bad at it. It's 2 months away, so it's going to be old news. What's that?
They did it to scare them because now I saw a tweet from Disclose TV that said they're putting up barricades outside of the Supreme Court, to keep the justices safe, keep the employees safe, everything else.
And let's be clear about those barricades; they were the same size as January 6th. So
yeah, so as much really obviously not going to help that much. So clearly they want this social pressure. By the way, another reminder: the government is not on your side. They want bad things to happen to people, and so there. I think basically there's there's three main ways that this could go, and I'll defer to Sarah after I summarize my ideas here. So first is either that they're going to try and pack the courts, so throw in a bunch more justices that Biden, well, it's not really, he's not making the decision, Biden's puppet masters want in there. So packing the courts is one of the options. The other option is that the social pressure does work and the vote, the 5-4 vote changes, which is probably the least likely, I think. And the third option is that it happens, and I'll get into the fallout a little bit more on that after we have a little bit more discourse on this, because I also have a couple predictions on what is going to happen if Roe v. Wade does get overturned. But do you think that's an accurate summarization, Sarah?
I think it's one theory. For sure. Because I do this, professionally, and I was telling Sam before the show that I had just had a call with the pro-life caucus earlier today with Republican Whip Steve Scalise, with Concerned Women of America, with Students for Life, Priests for Life. A lot of these March for Life people, the National Right to Life. We're all talking about what the next steps are and why this is important in this moment in time. A couple things that highlights were that there may be pressure to release the official decision soon. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to have a new one of these, like the opinion of the court, but it will say what the ruling is. I think that the Supreme Court, they have an opportunity. They have two problems that they have to solve. Number one is what is the case? What is the outcome of the case, and what does that trigger, moving from the federal level to the state level and beyond? And then secondly, how do we preserve the integrity of the court? Because that seemed to be the one last institution that hadn't had leaks, that could still be sought as a beacon of justice and truth. But now that's being called into question. The faster they solve the leak problem, the faster their integrity, or the more of their integrity can remain intact. Now, once they solve the who about the leak, then we can really start addressing the why. And there's a lot of swirling ideas out there. Is it a disgruntled law clerk who decided, forget about it, I'm going to take one for the team, I'm going to disclose this and burn it all down, like some of the news outlets are suggesting? Maybe. Or is it, something else completely? I don't know. But what I'm hearing is they're probably going to bring in everyone who had access to those documents, and they will be interviewed alongside with federal law enforcement. Now, if you're a skeptic, you may not think that's good enough, but I don't really know what else we can do without, some kind of tribunal of sorts. But right. It's going to be a big deal.
But the question is it going to be a big enough deal that they actually follow through with pinning these people down? That's my question. I don't think. It's so hard for me to, especially with a full on blue side of the aisle ranting and raving. It's like because they control the DOJ, don't they? And would it be the DOJ that is looking into something like this? The FBI, the CIA? I mean, who is going to be the one?
It's going to be the FBI and alongside.
Oh, good. The female body inspectors are going to be.
Well, okay, so I'm forever an optimist, okay? So, you can't, like one of my previous lives, I worked on postal reform issues, and it took 12 years to pass a bill. So, like, I'm really good at being optimistic. And so I have to say that, well, if we're involving the marshal of the court, and before this moment, we haven't had a problem, that they must have been somewhat good at their job. Before, and obviously this probably wasn't the marshal's fault. Someone really had to try hard to make this happen. We had an abortion survivor on, Laura Ingraham, the other night, so I've been following Laura Ingram's show really closely, and she clerked for the court, and this was when it was breaking last night. And she talked about how the very first thing that she was told was that they needed to maintain integrity and confidentiality. Whoever did this, their career is over. It's going to be like, oh geez, what's her name? The blue dress girl from the Clintons. It's on the tip of my tongue. Bill Clinton.
Monica Lewinsky.
Yes, her. Monica Lewinsky.
Jeffrey Epstein and.
No. Okay, I don't want to get dead here. Come on. But Monica, she's had a really hard time getting a job. Not only is she famous, but she's infamous. And this person is going to suffer the same fate because they worked really hard to get into law school and to become a clerk of the Supreme Court. And what will they be remembered as? The person who did this, who leaked the Supreme Court. So that's not going to be favorable.
So what you're saying is this is something that's a little bit more than like the leaks that we've seen in the past 2-3 years. This is something that is Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is completely outside of the realm of what we've experienced before, and it's really kind of seriously, like I've never thought we'd be getting into a war with Russia, but never thought we'd be having, after reasonably, I thought the Cold War ended and we were at peace. Not really. I never thought we'd see a leak at the Supreme Court like we have before. I expect it in Congress. I expect it with the Adam Schiff's offices of the world. I expect it with Senate Judiciary and whatnot. But, leaking is a way to get things done, but this isn't it. This was motivated, I think, politically for the election. Ruby, stop it. Sorry, everybody. French bulldogs are good protectors too sometimes. But you know what? They should have had a French bulldog at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, they should have just set up.
Little Lady Justice right here. Fun fact about her name. In World War I and World War II, the French had little small black compact pistols called a ruby. So that is why she is named Ruby.
So if we only would have had like 100 rubies just like stacked up right there in front of the Supreme Court, that there'd be no one. It would be, and I'm curious even how that even goes about. Is like, how do you? It would have to be some. How easy is it going to be to get found out who it was? This is somebody who's like dying on a.
The last Supreme Court leak was in the 70s, just for a frame of reference here. So Congress leaks happen like basically daily. Senate leaks are a little tighter, but they're still pretty loose. So this hasn't happened for
50 years.
50 years. Thank you. I can't do math that fast.
Yeah, 50 years.
So clearly a crazy precedent being established here with this leak, and I think
I don't want it to be a precedent, buddy. Like I want it to be an isolated experience.
Yes, I
The
I shouldn't
annual
say
week of the
precedent.
Supreme Court. No, 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 no. That's the first
I
and last.
I
Second
can't
last.
I can't help but feel as though because this was obviously intentional. And knowing
Yeah.
how our political climate is going, I think this might be a precedent. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Well, I kind of am, but I'm not going to go down any tangents or anything. But I'm afraid that it might become a precedent.
So,
That's fair to
have
say.
you thought about,
Go ahead.
to that end, have you thought about including or selling, promoting the Daily Sam show, the podcast, branded aluminum
Sam
foil?
Daily Show.
The Sam Daily Show, aluminum foil or tin foil, so people can make their own hats for parties.
Yeah, that's we've got a couple things, like the Let's Mow Brandon and then the Let's Go Brandon Christmas lights, which
That'd be a
does
good
remind
idea.
me, if you do live in the Northland of Kansas City, be sure to reach out to us through facebook.com/Let's Mow Brandon. If you would also like to support this, you can also scroll down to the bottom of our page at samdailyshow.com and smash the support button, and then you can give through that way. But I'm serious, people. I'm doing this day in and day out. I'm so sick of things and where they are headed. I mean, the more that I walk around and I see the terrible health crisis that we're undergoing, it's crazy when I see these people who are wearing the mask, and it's like, like, and I saw you last year, with the stop sign outside of the elementary school and holding up the stop sign, is that you actually look like you haven't been taking care of your health. And so it's not only that, but also just culturally, is that this is why the show is here, is that I'm trying to shine a little bit of a light on what's happening here and give a more logical look. Sometimes I'm illogical, and that's okay. That's why we are potentially going to be selling aluminum tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And hey, you can call me a tinfoil hat wearer all you want, but so far the past 2 to 4 years has vindicated everyone who puts on that tinfoil hat. So I think we should start selling Sam Daily Show brand tinfoil. I'd use it. I'd wear it every show.
samdailyshow.com/merch. If we do that, it will be there. We don't have that a part of the website. Now, what I'm curious about this is that you did say that the first thing that I thought to my mind is that this is something so outrageous that and you've changed my mind a little bit in seeing that FBI is going to get involved with this, and then now it makes me. I thought 2 months out, man, they leaked it way too early. Is that they should have done this like a week before. But in the reality of things is that this is going to be a tribunal. Is that the right word to use? Is that this is going to be something that they are going to get the FBI involved in. In the next 2 months, this is going to be the news cycle. And I don't want to understate that. This is going to be the news cycle every single day. CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, they are just going to hammer away at talking about this. So,
well,
anything they can do to keep Joe out of the news cycle, anything they can do to keep him out, because no one wants to watch him anymore. And we actually we got an official statement from him. So Sam, if you wanna go ahead and pull up that official statement.
Sarah, I'm so sorry for this. I've got the official statement
ready.
right here. Yep.
Let me know. Official Joe Biden statement. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll play the clip right now.
Well, it's I tell you what, folks. It's we got the Roe v. Wade with when they gave the babies the rights, and when the immigrants and the babies they're just killing it's just we got to keep the women and what really matters. What really matters is the Ukraine babies. What's happening to the Ukraine babies? We need to stop the Ukraine babies.
That is the official statement from Joe Biden, everyone.
So I will take it from there, because you hit 3 points, and the president hit 3 important points. I'm going to go in reverse because I may forget one. So you asked about the Ukraine babies. Did you know that there is an increase in shipments in abortion pills being sent to the Ukraine right now because supposed rape by the Russian military of Ukrainian women? So trauma begets more trauma. So and it's never the solution. So there's that issue out there, right?
So wait,
So
wait.
where
They're
exactly?
they're sending abortion pills to Ukraine.
Yep.
I thought it was
because
just like
women,
$800,000 worth of like weapons.
no, abortion. Chemical abortion pills as well.
So that's maybe
So
that is part of the $800,000 that I last saw, and I think that there was another million something that I saw that they were saying.
and
Is
it
that
may
wrapped
not
up
be
in there? That
directly
could be
coming from
considered.
it may not be coming directly from the government. It may be coming from well-funded organizations that are in committed to expanding access to abortion to anybody who needs it, wants it, can conceive it. So where exactly that source is, I'm not sure, but I could probably look it up in a nanosecond and find it for you. But so could everyone else. Second thing that you said, migrants crossing the border, abortions for them too. Well, funny you should mention, because my mother is a public health nurse. She worked in facilities run by the U.S. government to provide medical care for people who have crossed the border and illegally. And she's also a sidewalk counselor with the pro-life movement. And she, having known both sides of the work, she's recently retired. She has been seeing young women being brought out of brought to pregnancy centers, abortion facilities by staff at the detainment center, from the detainment centers. So that is a violation of the law and government funding facilitating abortion.
So you're saying that a
time.
woman gets pregnant who crosses the border illegally, and then they bring them to the abortion facility to provide them with abortion?
Or right, exactly. Or
That-
they've crossed the border on the journey. They may have been raped or become pregnant.
And they're likely
in
not
some-
investigating
in some
that in
fashion.
any way, because you'd think that
Well,
would be front page news too, something like that.
Well, the easy, right, no, but you think about the border states, the last Democrat, the last pro-life Democrat, I believe was, it has been run out of Congress. He's no longer welcome in the Democratic Party. He's announced he resigned. So there's
Now, who was that? Was that Mitt Romney?
No, yeah, the House member from Texas. Let me see. I can look it up real fast for you guys. But so that was item 2, is that people need to be thinking about the border and public health, but we need to be thinking about it in this way too, because if you believe that, or if you are like me and know that God is the author of life and that life needs to be protected, then not only are we treating, people should follow the laws, but humane treatment does not include terminating a pregnancy of an immigrant, because that's just, it's wrong on so many levels. They deserve health care, but they also deserve to be treated as capable and let their bodies, women are capable of bearing children. It's the most amazing thing that I've ever done is having a child, and to have 3 is an incredible blessing. And I know many women who have done it, and we all look around, we had no idea what we were doing, but if you can do this, you can move mountains. And I think that's the big lie that women are being told, is that you're not able, you can't be a mother. How will you earn a living? Those are all lies and ways to cut you down. This is what we are designed to do. And the immense joy and fulfillment of motherhood should not be denied. It's not easy.
Yeah. But what if I have this great opportunity at this $200,000 a year job, and if I have a child, and that's going to...
But I need my stimmies and my money, and I'm managing a Burger King, and when I can't lose that money.
Sarah was not ready for this.
Oh man, you guys are horrible. But but that's just the lie, right? That is the lie. That is that. Why are you working at Burger King alone? Where's the baby daddy, right? Let's get some accountability
Yes,
back
this
into the.
Yeah.
Let's
You
get
got a
them back
point. Yeah, you got a
into
point.
the.
Is that it's not just women, it's men too. Is that we are falling
Yes.
flat on our face. We are definitely
And
a generation raised to just go ahead.
And
go
I
ahead,
have a
Ellen.
little secret for you, boys, on the call, on right here, listening in this little chat.
Listen up, audio kid.
Something I didn't know when I was younger, but or it never really clicked. Between the three of us who have the screens up right now, there's only two of us are fertile all the time, and it ain't me.
Wait,
Well,
what she's trying to say to
no.
us is that read Genesis 1, and I think it's in Genesis 1, and be fruitful and multiply. You hear that, audio kid? Be fruitful and multiply. He's looking
Yeah,
at me. He's
but-
like, I haven't even got my first car yet.
So
You'll get there.
So yeah, so this all goes back to the sexual revolution and sex without consequences and breakdown of the family and things of that nature. So if we can rewind a little bit and, ladies, if you want it all, you can have it all, but not just at the same time. Work hard. There are unplanned, surprises that come into your life, but, there are ways, there are people there to help. There are other families who would, if you don't want to be a parent right now or can't be a parent right now, the joy of having a baby is tough, but it's well earned. And there are so many stories that prove that abortion is harmful to women, it's harmful to men, and it is not healthcare. Healthcare does not end in someone dying. And
Well, there's no
know-
such thing as
Well-
a safe abortion, is what I've heard so many times today.
Right, exactly. So I want to tell you a story about one of the women that I've gotten to know, working with the Abortion Survivors Network. She is a survivor, and when I was working with some members of Congress and their staff, they asked me if we had any stories or anecdotes about how abortion harms women, and I'm like, oh boy, you want to hear this story because you need to meet Priscilla. Priscilla is a grandmother in Alaska, and she survived an abortion that her mother had. The abortion took her twin, and she survived. No, you can't watch TV here. Okay, shh. Come here, honey. So Priscilla survived an abortion, and when she was in her early 20s, she found herself pregnant, and her mom forced her to have an abortion and said, well, let's hope this works for you better than it did for me with you. Which is a horrible, horrible thing, but it was what happened. Priscilla had a horrible experience with her abortion, go figure. But, a couple years later, she found herself pregnant again. She had another abortion. And that abortion was also equally traumatizing, painful, unfulfilling. And so what happened? Priscilla went to go work in the abortion industry because she wanted women to have a better experience than she did. So she is the trifecta of how abortion harms women. She survived one, she had two, and then she helped with thousands, or maybe hundreds. I don't want to exaggerate, hundreds. And she has walked away from that, really dove deep into her faith and her relationship with God and Jesus, and is now one of the educators and community leaders within the Abortion Survivors Network, having seen it from all angles. And I have heard countless stories about mothers who call Melissa, my friend who runs the Abortion Survivors Network. Mothers call her and say, will my child ever forgive me? Because she is the closest thing that these other women can imagine to their child. Like they had, like Melissa and their child that they terminated through abortion have a kindred spirit because they both suffered the same thing. only Melissa was given the grace, by the grace of God, survived. And so the pain that is carried cannot be forgotten, as hard as you try. And the other interesting thing that I learned is that if you are a survivor of an abortion and a woman, you are more likely to have an abortion as well, because you have a innate impression of lack of worth, or many do, not everyone. I need to caveat that, but feelings of rejection, that your life wasn't worth having because your mother, parents either forced you to have forced the abortion or voluntarily had the abortion. So some of those things imprint on you when you're very, very young. And so therefore, if you weren't worthy of life at the beginning, how is the child you're bearing worthy of life if it's not planned or wanted? So in healing, we can stop the cycle of abortion. So it's a very, very, I don't know. I honestly, I know we've been light and airy in some points of our conversation, but it is a great honor to help empower these people, the abortion survivors, who have to be Planned Parenthood's worst nightmare, because they are the lie. They say they don't exist. They are the lie that Planned Parenthood perpetuates. Oh, it's fine, but it's not.
I'm curious.
Because here they are, and they have a voice.
That is quite profound. Quite profound.
Does the I'm curious. You bring that up right there. Is that this is kind of like you're working for, kind of the I don't want to say the antidote to Planned Parenthood, or the, what would the right word be, Aaron? You've got a much larger
the
antithesis. Am I right?
I think antithesis. Are you referencing specifically Planned Parenthood?
I'm saying that the network that Sarah is a part of,
The Abortion Survivors Network.
yes, the Abortion Survivors Network is the antithesis to Planned Parenthood. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, I think you're right, Sam.
It's kind of butting up against
to get involved with organizations like the Abortion Survivors Network, because it really does show. It doesn't, like, you've given us two examples now of where it didn't work. The abortion failed, and now these people have to follow these consequences. And I really like how you specified, Sarah, that it's through healing, and how that sort of, it can get people can get in the mindset of feeling like they aren't worth it. I think that's really important to address. I think the psychology behind that is really that is probably one major part of the key to fixing these kinds of things.
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, I mentioned that I'm really lucky that Melissa lives, that we become friends, and she's open. She has entrusted me to work alongside of her to serve the abortion survivors community. She was telling me recently about a survivor who's 14, and Melissa's background is in social work, so she's a licensed social worker, who discovered that she only learned of her medical history when she was about 14. So she did not know this about herself her entire life, but it was a real struggle herself. And so in knowing thyself and being educated in this area of psychology and counseling and healing is where she was able to create an entire healing curriculum written by an abortion survivor for abortion survivors, which is what the program within the Abortion Survivors Network uses. It's a 3-year program that they participate in a community. But my point is that the feeling of belonging and worthiness and the psychology of it all. Melissa shared with me that she was working with a girl who was about 15 years old, and the girl asked her, Melissa, will anyone ever love me I ever be able to get married? Will I ever find a husband? Will a husband be, is there someone who will love me and marry me? When she was unwanted, she has these deep feelings of rejection and not being wanted from her own mother and biological family. So in healing this young woman, hopefully the goal is that she can live a life where love expands, worthiness and acceptance and being more than a choice is not something we don't want her to doubt her worthiness in her future. We wish that she never had to, but if we can play a part in helping her feel that she is complete and worthy, then I will have done a good job, and I'll be happy.
Well, not only that, but your organization is not only it's tied in with the church, is it not? So
sort of, but no.
Okay.
So technically, it's a non-denominational organization. However, you often find that it's people of faith who are driven, who are given the grace to the stamina by God, really, to keep it up. You know, pretty much my prayer these days is, dear God, I will serve anyone you send my way, but please give me the wisdom to know how to do it the way you would like it done, to do it the right way, like, you know, the first or second try, not like the last, you know, please don't let me fail at this. Help me do it right.
Well,
And
yeah, because you
give
only
me the
have like a
energy.
moment with them, right? Is it sometimes with these
Yeah, with
they're coming
legislators.
in and they're
Yeah, so so recently I found my work, it's like I have a foot in two areas, but that I pray for, I say, you know, Lord, I will do whatever work you send my way, but please help me be smart enough to do it, because I you know, this is, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, holy cow, look at what I'm doing. And then the energy to do it all that you send me. I need just enough sleep to make it happen, or as little sleep as you think I can sustain. So when we say you only have a moment to get it right, or to pick your words, that is so true. One of the things that's been, I think, most impactful, because I really don't get too excited anymore about meeting elected officials or members of Congress, you know, because I see this as a working relationship. They got to do their thing. I'm there to be an asset and help them do it better and shed light on the issues that they're being forced to make decisions on, or, you know, they will be voting on. They're all trying to make a difference in the world.
well, you got your left foot in like the swamp, and then you got the right foot in the Lord, right? So like that's
yes. And so with the right
tough.
foot, tough. So with the right foot, I got some toes in smaller swamps, but my heel, you know, is on solid ground, to continue the analogy. We have had, you know, with the decision on Dobbs, right, potentially overturning Roe. We talked about earlier the legislation going back to the states, right, and state legislatures debating abortion policy for that state. When that happens, it's usually a judiciary or healthcare committee that proposes a new law, law or bill. And, well, I'm on a call with all these people who are watching us talk. A bill or law proposed, and then they bring in witnesses to testify in favor or against the legislation. And so I've had abortion survivors in California testify against the horrible bills that were being advanced there. One of two, they only had two witnesses from each side able to testify. It was something so consequential, so monumental. 2 minutes for this witness, 2 minutes for this witness, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So consequential. And you get 4 minutes per side. It's mind-blowing. But what that means is that we are taking someone's story their personal experience, their surviving of an abortion, condensing it into a 2-minute statement that overlays with the public policy and makes it relevant and persuasive. And that seems to be, I didn't realize that so much of what I've done in my past was preparing me for this, for the present, and grooming these survivors to use their voice to tell their story and to serve their community by sharing their voice.
Well, not only their voice, but they're also sharing their testimony. And
Exactly.
I had this issue. I remember going and meeting with a pastor, and they asked me to share my testimony. I just went on and on and on and on and on. And it's like, you need to be able to condense it down to something that is just, because you really only have moments to be able to share, especially when I'm talking about evangelizing, but what I'm saying though is that that's kind of what you're doing to some degree whenever you're going into and speaking. I imagine you're speaking in front of senators, or you have these people who are going and sharing their testimonies in front of Congress members with like you said, in California. So Congress members in California and Missouri. And,
yes.
So
members of their state assemblies. In Virginia, we had somebody testify in Virginia. So just like at the federal level, you have essentially a House and a Senate, of the bicameral situation. Every state is bicameral except for Nebraska, which is unicameral, where we were also working with the Right to Life movement there, or Nebraska for Life, because they had a trigger law that they were trying to pass. And ultimately, interestingly, it failed. We were shy of the votes to pass that in Nebraska. So back to the drawing board there, which is why elections have consequences. When you go to the ballot box and a lot of us don't really seem to care who is our state rep or, who's in the state legislature, it really does matter, because, now you're picking people who are serving on the school boards. You're picking people who are going to be determining the education of your kids, and if your kids were going to have playmates or not, right?
yeah.
This is our future that we're annihilating. And it's a painful thing. And I don't see how any society can continue when they have told the potential mothers in their society that they're ill-equipped to be mothers, and have let some fathers off the hook. Not everybody, or where there are men who fail to bear the responsibility of their consequences,
Well, I would say
of their behaviors and their responsibility.
I would say the responsibility is on the men. Is that if you're a man and you are having whoever you're with, encouraging them, and I'm sure there's several different examples I could give, but if you're a guy and you get a girl pregnant, it's your responsibility too. And not only is it your responsibility too, but it's your responsibility to encourage her to have that child.
Yes, and to take care of her and to take care of that child afterwards. Because here's the thing, there's some analogy made that if men had, and I'm gonna rephrase this a little bit so it's a little more appropriate, if men had the same moods that women had, we would all die off. But if women had the same moods, that men had, we would overpopulate in a minute. Because so many times, the only reason, and I don't want this to come out too terribly sexist or wrong here. The only reason people are sticking 1 and 2 together is probably because the guy suggested it. The guy, he was the one who wanted to get down and dirty. So really, it is a massive responsibility on the men. And I also think what this will be good for, because everyone says the responsibility is on the men. The responsibility is on the men. But of course, the man has no right in the situation, because, and this is what feminists will always have always done and always will do is blame everything on men, but then simultaneously take every right the man has in a situation away. And this is something that I personally am really passionate about, is and I think it'd be very interesting to have a mother's perspective on this, but the man has just as much a right to see his child alive as the mother does.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Like I said, since joining up with the Abortion Survivors Network, I've heard the most amazing stories about how abortion has impacted lives, men and women. And a while back, Melissa Oden was headed to the airport. She accidentally left her phone in the Uber. And she texted me. She was actually headed to D.C. to testify in the Senate Judiciary Committee against the Women's Health Protection Act, the bill that it would expand healthcare abortion access that failed, I think, last month, put up by Dick Blumenthal in Senate Judiciary. Anyways, she's on her way to the Kansas City airport. Leaves her phone in the Uber. She texts me from her watch, tells me what happened. I call her phone, talk to the guy. He brings it back to her. But he had asked her, well, what are you doing? Why are you traveling? He told her, and she told him what she was doing and who she was. And he said, I would like to help you. My girlfriend aborted our child, and I've never been the same.
Wow.
So it's denying, and I think it's denying men the opportunity to be fathers, first of all. It's denying men to become the men they will become, they are to become, because fatherhood, motherhood changes you. It makes you more everything, right? I am weaker because I have loved fiercely. If
Well,
that makes sense.
and that's exactly why we don't want women in office. But
oh, let me just reapply some lipstick here, honey.
I had to go there. I could say those things though because well, you know.
Wow.
Did I get too heavy? Did I get too heavy?
No, well, I had to pull back a little bit. Like it's just
Pull back.
you almost had me at tears. So I was like, I gotta say something here.
You're gonna have me in tears, dude.
I'm laughing so hard. Man,
it was so out of left field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me roll us back in here. So I guess what I'm seeing here is that what you were sharing with me before we even started the show is that you're just kind of like you're in awe and shock by this happening, and I think that to some degree of that is that probably you see your organization, it's going to absolutely explode if something like this happens, because not only are you going to be taking on those who and I'm also thinking of like Rachel's House, and I'm thinking of Sarah, I'm sure you can name off
the crisis pregnancy centers or the pregnancy centers. Yeah. So as this is what's going to happen, because we've seen it happen over the last year. The more and more that conversations people are having about the right to an abortion or abortion in general, the more it's in the news, the more we see companies like Citibank or Amex being willing to, what was the latest one, Amazon, willing to provide transportation for their employees to seek an abortion, to obtain an abortion out of state. The more and more we see that, the more and more it's topical, and people are going to come out and say, hey, I had an abortion, I regret it. I survived an abortion. My mother tried to abort me and she changed her mind. I was, my mom took a chemical, she took the abortion pill, but luckily she changed her mind and she got the abortion pill for her soul. More and more of these stories are going to come out, and more people are going to reach out to our community, because what is going on in our society right now, people are craving, need to belonging in community. In the olden days, and I'm not saying that our community is a good source for that, right? I'm not discounting it. But I think people are looking for a sense of belonging in all the wrong place, in a lot of the wrong places.
You're telling me I
They're
can't
not
find that on
finding it.
Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook? Because I've been looking for a while, and I find a little bit.
Yeah, it's, and you know, our
I got like
groups
10
are
likes the
there
other day.
because
Felt-
that's where people find us, right? But you know, you used to have your identity in being an American or a Christian or, you know, these other things, but a lot of those things have deteriorated. So people are, but our sense of belonging and the need for community hasn't. That said, we will see an explosion of people seeking services or support or information, education, empowerment, and being equipped to talk about abortion, and the healing that ultimately comes from it. We are going to see this decision, if the opinion that's, you know, 98 pages holds true and it goes this way, the decision is going to send the question of abortion, the right to abortion, back to the states. So Kansas is a really big deal, and it's in our backyard. They have a constitutional amendment on the ballot in August that would amend the Kansas Constitution to not have an implicit right to an abortion. The campaign there is called Value Them Both. A couple years back, the Kansas Supreme Court decided that somewhere embedded in the Kansas Constitution, there is a right to an abortion. And so therefore, Kansas has permitted it. And there have been horrific acts of abortion committed in Wichita area by an abortionist who performs late-term abortions. It's really, really awful. But if that fails and Kansas retains the right to an abortion, we will see, traveling through our community, people coming to Kansas for an abortion, just like they're doing in California, creating an abortion destination in the state. And I don't think that's what we want for our region. We're already seeing things like this in Texas. People leave the state to obtain what they need, what they want, what they think they've been told that they need. And there is some federal legislation out there that might get some legs next Congress, to prohibit interstate abortion services. So you couldn't travel across state lines and perform an abortion on a citizen. You know, as a provider could not perform an abortion in Kansas on someone who lives in Missouri, for example. So,
which is good. Which is good thing. There should be
good.
lines drawn, and if you want to do the whole abortion thing, then you can go to California, or you can go to New York, right?
Yeah, and it's I think this is a great sort of shift to the point where you know, with those interstate commerce laws and things like that, it really is, if this Supreme Court decision goes the way we want it to, that's not the end of it. It is now. Yes, it is. And there's so much progress to be made after that point, because we can, you know, all of the Republican lawmakers can go and just outright ban abortions in their state. Well, but then what happens to all of these, the massive influx of children that's because 60 million is a huge number. And
well, I think what they're going to do is they're just not going to have sex. Did you see that tweet or video? Somebody was like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to just not.
That's not a realistic assumption to make right now. People aren't the cultural change isn't immediately going to happen. So what really needs to happen is better funding, more funding for adoption options. You know, laws that can assist fathers in raising, you know, single fathers in raising those children.
It's the wraparounds.
Yep.
Wraparound services. So when we look at family planning, let's actually make that a reality. How do we plan to sustain our family as opposed to plan to not have a family? And there is, I learned earlier today on that call that I mentioned with the pro-life leaders that there is a Congresswoman, Nancy Mace, M-A-C-E, who has a draft bill that's not been published yet, that would appropriate HHS funding to all of those things that you just mentioned. How you guys need to get ready for bed. Go brush your teeth, please. Go pick up books. You got to, how do they appropriate funding to those services so that families can succeed? The other point is that we've had a declining birth rate. So there's
And
a
marriage.
declining birth rate. Marriage, yes, but birth rate to, compare apples to apples here. Birth rates declined. We need to invert that triangle of population, because there's another public policy ramification here that happens with a declining birth rate. Assuming people, the next generations, decide to work, people who work pay taxes, pay Social Security tax, which goes into fund Social Security, Medicaid, all those things that the old people are planning on having. But if there's no people to pay into that inverted triangle of benefits, there's no money there. So
Right.
society needs our society the America needs its society to flourish, and it doesn't occur when we decide that we need to terminate pregnancies because it's inconvenient.
So basically what you're
So-
saying,
Or
Sarah,
unwanted, and
is
that's-
that if you're a conservative man, get out there and find you a wife. Be fruitful and
Yes.
multiply.
Well,
Start pump.
Easy, Aaron.
Chug a lug that train, baby.
Easy.
Chug a lug that.
If you-
Chugga 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 chugga. Wah wah. Chugga 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 chugga
Sir,
chugga chugga
I'm
chugga
so
chugga.
sorry I didn't give you a better warning. I should have told you. I should have emailed
I-
you.
I told her- I told her at the
beginning.
beginning. I told her I'm Gen Z. That summarizes everything. I'm
I was
19.
like, what?
I'm Gen Z. It's good.
You keep me young.
Hey, and you have is it just because you said you have 3 kids, right? So 2 daughters and 1 son, or 2 sons and 1
Other
daughter?
way around. So I
Yeah.
have Jay is almost 9, Jimmy's almost 7, and Juliana just turned.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, you had a brother. You're gonna have 2 sons. It's gonna be a fun household. Lots
Well,
more of
and-
this masculine.
Exactly. And you know what? That's the other thing. You point something out, something that I think women of my generation, the whole "we can do it all" mentality. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. I can change a tire, I can change oil on but that was because I didn't want to be dependent on anybody, and that's what was right, in the early 2000s when you were born, Aaron. Man. Like when I graduated from school, 2000. I have a. Never mind. Anyways, I'm like self-censoring right there, but it was funny, at least on the inside. But the thing is, I realized when I became a mother, and this might be a great topic for another show on parenthood, is that just because I could do it all doesn't mean it is good for me to model the behavior that I can do boy work. So sometimes I say, when my kids ask me to help, when my boys especially, they ask me, Mom, can we do this? I'm like, oh no, that's boy work. You got to talk to Dad about that. I only do pink work. Sorry.
Or
And-
hey, we need to take care of those leaves. Oh, to call Sam with Let's Mow Brandon.
Yeah.
Can I do another ad plug right here?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Let's
No more ad
okay.
reads. No more ad reads.
No more ads. Okay.
No, we
Well,
do need to kind of like swing these. So I just want to to finalize that point on Rachel's House and all these other organizations, that it is going to be absolutely overwhelming for all of them, because what I see here is that you're going to you're going to have people, they're going to be they're going to say either, well, let's go to Mexico, let's go to California, or they're going to say, hey, well, here's this other option here. Here's a church down the road. Here's Rachel's house. Here's this other option, right?
To that point, from what I've learned, and I come to this as an outsider.
And I'm
to
also
the
speaking
pro-life
about the
movement.
sites, the Missouri, in Louisiana, and the states that are likely going to be making
right, the trigger laws.
Yes.
With the trigger laws. So a lot of women, when they go to a Planned Parenthood, they are naive to what they are going in for. and they are not counseled to the extent that Planned Parenthood says they are. Sometimes when they try to leave, they are not allowed to leave. So when we say that these other places are going to be overwhelmed, I think that they are going to definitely see an increase in foot traffic. I don't know that it's going to be overwhelmed with crises and trauma, because hopefully we can start changing the narrative around what pregnancy is and what pregnancy means. And also within our churches, right? We need to address how we treat women who find themselves to be pregnant outside the normal sacramental unions. And we need to remember that they have made the right choice in bearing this child and should not be judged, lest you be judged, but should be supported. Because I hate it makes my brain explode a lot when the same people who are out, stomping and walking sidewalks, carrying signs within the pro-life movement are the same people pointing fingers about someone's choices that they made that were not, let's say,
Do you want me to say it? I can say it.
Yeah, say it. You say it.
When you make the dumb decision of getting into the sack with another individual and not rapping and instead just tapping. Is that good?
Voluntarily or sometimes involuntarily. Bad things can happen.
I could have probably said that a whole lot prettier, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. But just, we can't be the same. We can't be two different kinds of people. We got to be consistent. If we're going to be, in vogue to be pro-life, you gotta walk the walk and talk the talk. By the way, open up your pocketbook and wallet, and if you pay Verizon $70 a month, and can you give $70 a month to help support an organization that sustains life and protects life? You're probably going to end up getting a lot more out of it at the end of the day. You just won't see it. It's kind of like your data. You can't really see your data, but you're going to miss it when it's gone.
Yeah, so this is great. Just to wrap things up here, one of the main points of the show is or at least what we're going to be doing from now on, because we kind of had a little bit of a reset here. We want to tell the viewers what they can go and do, who they can support. So I guess, where can they find you, Sarah, and where can people go to really start helping with this movement?
Absolutely. So you can find me. This is like I said, I have my own. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out which email address to give you guys. You can find me at Sarah at Sapphire, SAPPHIRE, gov strategies.com. And that is that's my work email for my consulting firm. And then I can help coordinate with a lot of great organizations that I work with. And then the Abortion Survivors Network, you can find us at abortionsurvivorsnetwork.com. And we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Like, follow, share. That would be really amazing, because we are really trying to get the word out about the fact that survivors exist. And, just this weekend, we had a survivor on the Laura Ingraham show on Fox, and she survived an abortion at 10.5 weeks, and her adopted mother, shared just what a blessing this family is. You can't go to bed. I will come in a second. And so you can find us on, like I said, Facebook, Instagram. We're starting out on TikTok too. So Abortion Survivors Network on TikTok. There's we're just figuring it out, because we're old. We're like twice as old as you, Aaron.
It's okay.
So maybe you can help us out.
Hey, maybe I can. I don't have a lot of social media. Personally, I'm not very social media literate, but
You
I
can run
know
a
a lot of people. I could throw
we
a
can
couple
run a
memes
slick
in there.
podcast. We've actually, Melissa and I have talked about getting our
Actually,
her podcast back together again. So we would love
I
to figure
I-
that out too.
I don't help much with the podcast.
Okay.
I'm kind of just a voice that's here. Sam and our
You're
wonderful.
you're the pretty face.
Of course
Ouch.
I am. Of course I'm the
Ouch.
pretty
Ouch.
face.
Ouch.
But yeah, our wonderful team. But yeah, I think you got your Instagram, all of your social medias.
Yep.
You read off your email, and so now
We
it's
can put
on.
that in the comments too, in
Yeah,
the
in the
Facebook
description
or wherever
below.
this is. Yeah, that's probably like the best idea ever. But like I said, you'd want to say who you can support. I really encourage the listeners out there to get involved in the local races politically. A lot of primaries are coming up. Missouri and Kansas aren't until August, but Missouri is going to have a very big Senate race. There's only one candidate that's been endorsed by the Susan B. Anthony list, which is the pro-life organization. One Senate candidate who's been endorsed by Susan B. Anthony, and that's been Vicky Hartzler, who is a congresswoman from Harrisonville, and she's also the congresswoman who came out with an ad that opposed transgender transgender athletic
Good.
competition.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Yeah, you can pull it up. She's fantastic. I really enjoy working with her, and look forward to seeing her serve in the Senate. And maybe sometime in the future we can do a whole political podcast if that's something your viewers like, your listeners like. We can do that too. But this whole pro-life thing is moving, so I'd love it if people don't hate me to maybe come back sometime and tell you how it's going.
Well, I can assure you that they don't hate you nearly as much as they hate Aaron.
Yes, the comments. Hey, what they hate us? Oh wow, Josh. Actually, yeah, our other co-host doesn't like me very much, and
What about me? What about me? What about me? Anybody like me? Did I get any likes? Did I get
yes,
any likes?
there's a lot of. I'm reading through here.
Let's get to the comments. We'll
comments.
get to the comments after a little bit later. You can just
Sweet.
copy those and
Okay.
then save
Well,
them.
Are
But we,
there any questions in there before I say goodnight?
Let me look.
Any
in
hot
real quick.
questions? Burning questions.
I guess if anyone has any questions, go ahead and drop them right now, and we'll read them off. We'll wait a minute while we do that. What am I saying? I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll
Yeah,
wait
no.
a minute while we wait.
And
for
then while
the
we wait,
questions.
we'll wait a second for questions.
yeah, until then, I'm going to share about my day. This morning, I
Yes.
woke up at
Actually,
5 o'clock in the morning, and then I said, this is way too early. I'm tired. And then I slept till 7 o'clock because I'm a business owner.
Please.
And that's what I do. I can do. That just
Okay,
meant that I
all
had to
right,
double
yeah.
down. Oh, we got
go ahead.
questions?
Yeah. Cry about it, Sam. No, we don't have any questions, but I did want to attest just for a small point. We were talking about how. Sorry, I got a cough. We were talking about
You
how,
interrupted me for a cough.
we were talking about how like you mentioned doing it all in the early 2000s and things like that. I just wanted to point out for our listeners, for our blind viewers, through the entirety of this interview, the wonderful Sarah Power Mom is governing her children in her household completely like without skipping a beat in her interview and everything. And I just think that is quite impressive. I have the multitasking skill of a Gen Z 19-year-old. That's enough said. Meanwhile, you're over here managing your kids and getting the TV running and getting your dog and everything else. So I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. That's a gift from God that he gave to a lot of women. Go ahead and cough again. You're all right. You just gargle with a little salt water, honey, before bed. You'll be all right. So it's another gift, right? We women can listen to 3 different conversations and answer somebody else at the same time. And I went early on when I got married. My husband, Dr. Jason Myers, who's a fan of Sam. We didn't like, we got along, but like there was some, marriage is not easy, but it's a fight worth having. Um, and I read this book, and it was about the female brain, and it basically likened the female brain to, let's say, O'Hare Airport with all the comings and goings, and the male brain is more like a crop dusting with one runway. So just know
What
that
is the
we're
crop
wired.
dusting exactly? What exactly
I
is
crop
the,
dusted just a minute ago.
what's the
Yeah, right. No, not that kind of crop dusting. Just a single,
well, because
single, single.
because it fertilizes the plants. Is that the insinuation?
Yeah. One track mind. One track mind.
So
Why
we do.
why don't you just do some fart jokes too? Like, the armpit thing? That'd be into the microphone. Be rad.
We do
Are you
have
20? Are
we
you
do-
20? Yeah.
we do have a question
Yes.
from the other co-host, Anarcho Josh, and he asks, "Do you want a hardcore leftist guest on your podcast?"
No, we're not going to let you answer that question. He is looking for clout, and he's not going to get it here. I'm going to close out the episode
That's on
with
Thursdays.
a thank you very much for watching. If you do want to support us, check out samdailyshow.com. If you want to support Sarah, what's that website?
Go visit the abortionsurvivorsnetwork.com, and you can make any contribution is amazing. There's the C3 side of it, which supports the healing work, or if you want to support the efforts of the public policy world, where we are advancing legislation that ensures babies receive medical care, that we are doing to help fight the pro-life fight in the halls of Congress and in state capitals across the country. Support the Education and Policy Center, but no matter what you do, it'll mean a lot. And if you don't have the treasure to give, your prayers are incredibly valuable to us as well.
That's right. So if there is a toss-up, whether you want to give to Sam Daly's show or the Abortion Survivors Network, go give $70 a month to them. We're doing all right here. We got Audio Kid in the studio.
We're doing, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, we'll keep pumping it out. But anything, this is something I believe in, and I know that we're going to make a difference. And I can't thank you guys enough for inviting me to join you and tell you about the other side of abortion, and the pro-life movement, I should say. Often the voiceless, for obvious reasons. But we're fighting the good fight, and guarantee it, we're gonna have more to talk about soon.
And we definitely will have to have you on again, because I think that this is going to be something that is, like I said, ongoing. The news is going to beat this dead horse for the next. Maybe that's not the best analogy to make.
Maybe.
They're gonna milk it as long as possible.
Okay, I like that better. They're going to milk
knowledge.
this story as long as possible. So we got Audio Kid in here. We got Sam, myself, wishing you a great rest of your
Actually,
evening.
before we go,
Yes.
can I send everyone off with a song? I wrote a song.
Audio Kid, what do you think? Yeah?
Let's close out the episode, but keep recording, and then I'll do the song.
Okay, I will fade out with you doing the song.
Okay. So, close then.
Oh, wait, so you're not going to do the song?
No, I'll do the song. I'm just saying, do the whole spiel, and then we'll go, and then I'll do the song, and then give me like 2 minutes, and then we can fade out.
The whole thing. I
Good
don't
night,
know
guys.
Yes, you can go ahead. We
I'm
appreciate
not gonna
you.
do this.
We
but I'm gonna
appreciate
go
you
put my
coming
babies
on.
to bed.
We appreciate you coming on. You have a great night.
We will. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sarah. What are you trying to say? This song? What do you?
You too.
Okay. So I wrote a song. For those who don't know, I've been learning guitar, and I learned my first chord progression, and so I wrote a song for today's episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, hold on 1 second. Is that if you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. We're gonna let this play out into Rumble. So if you want to come find us on Rumble, it's
No.
yes,
No, we can do it on
100%.
YouTube.
It's
We can
100%.
do it on YouTube.
We're not doing it on YouTube. Thank you for watching. join us on Rumble for the incredible, amazing song by Training Repair Aaron.
Join us afterwards on Rumble, everyone. Dad, you too. My dad's listening. I know he is. Go on Rumble, Dad. All right.